simpler. What if the reason you are not succeeding is not your background, not your resources, not your luck, but something far closer than you think? What if the obstacle isn't outside of you, but within you? Before you blame the economy, your boss, your family, or your past, ask yourself one powerful question. Is this the reason you're not succeeding? Success is not first a matter of opportunity. It is first a matter of capacity. The world does not withhold rewards because it is cruel. It withholds them because it responds to who you are becoming. Your income, your influence, your impact, they eventually settle at the level of your personal growth. If you feel stuck, it is not always because doors are closed. Sometimes it is because you have not yet grown strong enough to walk through the doors that are already open. Life has a quiet law. It gives you what you are prepared to handle, nothing more. You may pray for greater blessings, but if your character is not ready, the blessing becomes a burden. You may ask God for elevation, but if your mindset is still small, the height will frighten you. You may desire influence, but if your discipline is weak, influence will expose you. Scripture teaches that to whom much is given, much is required. That requirement is growth. Spiritual growth, mental growth, emotional growth, skill growth. God does not pour new wine into old wineskins. Expansion requires preparation. Your results are mirrors. They reflect the depth of your development. If you want more peace, you must develop patience. If you want more income, you must develop value. If you want more respect, you must develop integrity. If you want greater opportunities, you must develop greater competence. It is painful to admit that the ceiling above you may not be imposed by others, but by you. That the limits you feel may not be barriers in the world, but boundaries in your belief. But there is hope in that pain, because if the limit is internal, then it is changeable. Growth is uncomfortable. It stretches you beyond what feels safe. It demands you read when you would rather scroll, practice when you would rather rest, save when you would rather spend, forgive when you would rather hold bitterness. It asks you to master your thoughts when your emotions are loud. And many avoid growth because it confronts pride. It reveals gaps. It forces humility. It makes you admit that you do not know enough yet. Yet humility is the gateway to elevation. Faith without works is dead. Vision without preparation is fantasy. Prayer without effort is presumption. God may give the vision, but He expects stewardship. He may plant the seed, but you must water it with discipline. Your future is not built in dramatic moments. It is shaped in private habits. In the early mornings when no one sees you studying. In the quiet evenings when you choose self-control. In the unseen battles where you conquer fear, doubt, and laziness. Personal growth is not loud. It is invisible before it becomes visible. But eventually it shows. When your thinking expands, your opportunities expand. When your character strengthens, your responsibilities increase. When your faith deepens, your courage rises. You cannot carry a 10-level blessing with a 2-level mindset. And sometimes the delay you are frustrated about is actually protection. Protection from a success that would have crushed you because you were not yet ready. God prepares the person before He releases the promise. The real question is not why success has not arrived. The real question is who you are becoming while you wait. Are you sharper than you were last year? Are you wiser, more disciplined, more patient, more skilled, more faithful? Or are you simply older? Time alone does not produce growth. Intentional development does. When you commit to growth, you begin to feel the shift inside you. You speak differently. You think differently. You respond differently. Temptations that once controlled you lose their power. Distractions that once consumed you no longer dominate your time. And slowly, almost quietly, your external results begin to catch up with your internal transformation. Because life cannot consistently deny a person who is prepared. Personal growth is not about impressing people. It is about aligning yourself with purpose. It is about becoming trustworthy with more. It is about honoring the gifts God placed inside you by refining them instead of neglecting them. Your results will rise when you rise. Your income will grow when your value grows. Your influence will expand when your character expands. And the beautiful emotional truth is this: you are not fixed. You are not finished. You are not trapped in your current level. Growth is available to you right now through learning, through discipline, through faith, through action. And as you grow, success has no choice but to follow. Motivation feels powerful. It rushes through you like fire. It makes you want to change everything overnight. It fills your chest with energy and your mind with big promises. But motivation is a visitor. Discipline is a resident. Motivation shows up when you watch an inspiring video, hear a powerful sermon, or experience a painful failure. Discipline shows up when the alarm rings at 5 a.m. and no one is clapping for you. Emotional excitement is loud. Consistency is quiet. And success listens to what is quiet. Many people are addicted to the feeling of starting. Few are committed to the responsibility of continuing. They begin diets with passion, They start businesses with enthusiasm. They make promises with tears in their eyes. But when the emotions fade, and they always fade, so does the effort. That is why discipline matters more. Discipline does not ask how you feel. It asks what must be done. It does not negotiate with comfort. It does not wait for the perfect mood. It moves whether you are inspired or tired, praised or ignored. Motivation says, "I'll do it when I feel ready." Discipline says, "I'll do it because I decided." Your emotions are unstable. They rise and fall with circumstance. One bad comment can drain your excitement. One setback can silence your confidence. If you build your future on feelings, your future will shake every time your mood changes. But discipline builds on decision. There is a spiritual depth to this truth. Self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. It is not noise. It is not hype. It is strength under control. It is choosing obedience over impulse. It is choosing purpose over pleasure. Anyone can act when inspired. It takes maturity to act when uninspired. Even faith requires discipline. Prayer requires consistency. Growth requires repetition. Obedience requires persistence. You cannot live a powerful life with a weak will. Emotional excitement can start the journey. Only discipline can finish it. Think about the farmer. He does not plant seeds based on how excited he feels that morning. He plants because it is planting season. He waters because it is watering time. He trusts the process, and harvest responds to consistency, not enthusiasm. Your dreams respond the same way. Discipline is doing the small things daily that most people avoid. Reading 10 pages when you would rather scroll. Practicing your craft when you would rather rest. Saving money when you would rather spend. Choosing integrity when shortcuts tempt you. It is painful at first. Your flesh resists structure. Your mind searches for comfort. Your heart whispers excuses. But every time you choose discipline over emotion, you strengthen your character. You build trust with yourself. You prove that your word matters. And that is powerful. Because when you cannot trust yourself, nothing else feels stable. Broken promises to yourself slowly damage your confidence. You say you will wake up early, you don't. You say you will start today, you delay. You say you will commit, you quit. Over time, your own voice loses authority in your life. Discipline restores that authority. When you follow through consistently, even in small ways, you begin to feel different, stronger, clearer, more focused. You stop being controlled by moods. You become governed by mission. God did not design you to be ruled by emotion. Emotions are indicators, not commanders. They inform you, but they should not lead you. Leadership begins within. Consistency is proof of commitment. It is faith in action. It is showing up again and again, even when results are invisible. Because the truth is, most breakthroughs happen after boredom. Most people quit when the excitement disappears. They mistake silence for failure. They assume that because they no longer feel the thrill, the progress has stopped. But growth is happening beneath the surface, like roots growing underground before the tree appears, like muscles strengthening before they show, like prayers working in silence before answers manifest. Discipline teaches you to trust the unseen process. It teaches you to move without applause. It teaches you to build without immediate reward. And over time, something shifts. What once felt forced becomes natural. What once required effort becomes identity. You are no longer trying to be consistent, you are consistent. That is when success accelerates. Not because you felt inspired, but because you stayed committed. Consistency beats emotional excitement because it compounds. A little effort daily outweighs a burst of passion once a month. Small actions repeated faithfully will outperform dramatic actions performed occasionally. In the end, motivation may light the match, but discipline keeps the fire burning. We live in a generation overflowing with information. Books are everywhere. Podcasts are endless. Sermons are available at the click of a button. Courses promise transformation. Wisdom is accessible like never before. Yet transformation is still rare. Why? Because knowing is not the same as doing. Simpler. You can read about discipline and still be undisciplined. You can study wealth and still remain broke. You can memorize scripture and still live without obedience. Knowledge has power, but only when it is activated. Information alone does not change your life. Application does. There is a painful truth many avoid. You already know more than enough to improve your life. You know you should wake up earlier. You know you should manage your money better. You know you should guard your thoughts. You know you should practice your craft daily. You know you should forgive. You know you should pray consistently. The gap is not in knowledge. The gap is in action. Faith without works is dead. Wisdom without obedience is empty. A seed in your hand does not produce a harvest. It must be planted, buried, watered, and protected. Until knowledge is acted upon, it remains potential, and potential unused is tragedy. How many notebooks are filled with notes that never turned into habits? How many conferences inspired change that lasted only a week? How many prayers asked for growth while daily actions resisted it? There is something emotionally dangerous about collecting knowledge without applying it. It creates an illusion of progress. You feel productive because you are learning. You feel advanced because you understand concepts. But understanding without execution produces frustration. You begin to wonder why your life is not changing. But life responds to behavior, not awareness. God does not bless intention alone. He blesses obedience. The word must become flesh. Truth must become practice. Wisdom must become discipline. The blessing follows alignment, and alignment requires movement. Knowing the right path but refusing to walk it creates internal conflict. Your conscience speaks, your spirit convicts, your heart knows better. But hesitation wins, fear wins, comfort wins. And slowly you lose confidence in yourself, because deep inside you know you are capable of more. Application is uncomfortable. It forces you to leave theory and enter effort. It requires courage. It exposes weakness. It demands repetition. It makes you face resistance. It replaces dreaming with doing. But this is where growth begins. You do not become strong by studying strength. You become strong by lifting weight. You do not become wealthy by studying business. You become wealthy by executing strategy. You do not become spiritually mature by hearing truth. You become spiritually mature by living it. Action builds clarity. Action builds confidence. Action builds results. And small actions matter. You do not need to apply everything at once. Apply one principle consistently. Read and implement. Learn and practice. Hear and obey. Improve one habit. Correct one weakness. Strengthen one discipline. Execution compounds just like interest. One applied lesson daily becomes transformation over time. There is something powerful about obedience. It activates unseen forces. It aligns you with purpose. When you move on what you know, you create momentum. And momentum builds belief. You start trusting yourself again. You stop being a consumer of ideas and become a producer of results. And something shifts internally. You feel integrity because your actions match your understanding. Your lifestyle reflects your learning. Knowledge is a gift, but it becomes responsibility the moment you receive it. The question is not how much you know. The question is what you are doing with what you know. Because knowing without doing produces nothing, but knowing and acting changes everything. Success is rarely the result of one dramatic decision. It is almost always the result of small decisions made daily. We often look for breakthroughs, but life is built on routines. It is easy to underestimate small habits because they seem insignificant. Reading 10 pages does not feel life-changing. Saving a small amount of money does not feel powerful. Practicing your skill for 30 minutes does not feel extraordinary. Praying quietly in the early morning does not feel dramatic. But small habits are seeds, and seeds do not look like forests. Every day you are planting something, either discipline or neglect, either growth or stagnation, either faith or fear. The harvest may not appear immediately, but it is forming beneath the surface. The danger of small habits is not that they are small, it is that they are consistent. A small daily improvement compounds into mastery. A small daily compromise compounds into regret. 1% better each day does not look impressive in a week, but in a year, it changes your position entirely. A single poor choice may not ruin you, but repeated carelessness slowly shakes your character and your outcomes. Your life today is the accumulation of yesterday's habits. If you want to understand your future, examine your routines. Daily disciplines shape identity. When you wake up early consistently, you become disciplined. When you exercise consistently, you become stronger. When you study consistently, you become knowledgeable. When you pray consistently, you become spiritually grounded. Habits are not just actions. They are votes for the person you are becoming. God works through process. A farmer does not plant and expect harvest tomorrow. There is sowing, watering, waiting, trusting. The same principle governs success. Patience is not passive. It is disciplined consistency while trusting the unseen. Many people abandon good habits because they do not see immediate results. They stop reading because they are not experts yet. They stop saving because they are not wealthy yet. They stop praying because they do not see instant change. But transformation is subtle before it is visible, like roots growing underground before the tree breaks through the soil. Daily discipline feels repetitive, sometimes boring, sometimes unnoticed. But repetition builds strength. It builds structure. It builds stability. Emotions fluctuate. Habits anchor you. On days when you feel inspired, your habits keep you focused. On days when you feel weak, your habits keep you moving. When motivation fades, routine carries you forward. That is the power of small, faithful actions. And there is something deeply spiritual about daily faithfulness. Scripture speaks of being faithful in little before being entrusted with much. Small responsibilities handled consistently prepare you for greater assignments. Discipline in private prepares you for influence in public. The world celebrates big wins. God honors daily obedience. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing what you started. practicing when no one is watching, choosing integrity when shortcuts are available. These seem small, but they shape your character. Character shapes decisions. Decisions shape direction. Direction shapes destiny. You do not wake up one day successful. You wake up one day and realize your small habits have carried you there. The person who reads daily becomes wise. The person who invests daily becomes wealthy. The person who trains daily becomes strong. The person who prays daily becomes grounded. Consistency transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary results. And perhaps the most emotional truth is this: you do not need to change your entire life today. You need to change your daily pattern. Your future is not built in one powerful moment. It is built in thousands of quiet ones. The habits you choose today are silently designing the life you will live tomorrow. The moment you take responsibility for your life is the moment you take back your power. As long as your results are someone else's fault, your future is someone else's control. It is easy to blame. Blame your background. Blame your family. Blame the economy. Blame the system. Blame the timing. Blame the opportunity you never received. Blame the support you did not have. Blame feels comfortable, but blame is expensive because every excuse you make transfers authority away from you. When you say they are the reason, you quietly surrender your ability to change anything. Responsibility, on the other hand, is heavy at first. It forces you to confront uncomfortable truths. It demands honesty. It exposes weakness. It removes the mask, but responsibility is liberating. When you say this is on me, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting. You stop complaining. You stop justifying. You begin adjusting. Ownership does not mean everything is your fault. It means everything is your responsibility to respond to. Life will not always be fair. People will disappoint you. Doors will close. Opportunities will pass. But your response remains yours. And in that response lies your power. Spiritually, responsibility is deeply connected to stewardship. You are entrusted with time, talent, energy, influence, and faith. One day you will answer for how you managed what was placed in your hands. Not what others did with theirs, not what could have been, but what you chose to do. Excuses may comfort your pride, but they starve your potential. Responsibility feeds growth. When you own your mistakes, you can correct them. When you admit your gaps, you can close them. When you acknowledge your weaknesses, you can strengthen them. But when you deny, defend, or deflect, you freeze your progress. It takes courage to say, I need to improve. It takes maturity to say, I was wrong. It takes humility to say, I must do better. Yet those statements carry power, because once the problem is yours, the solution can be yours too. Excuses create victims. Ownership creates leaders. Victims focus on what happened to them. Leaders focus on what they can do next. When you adopt responsibility, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I learn from this? How can I grow through this? What action must I take now? That shift changes everything. Emotionally, responsibility can feel painful because it removes the comfort of external blame. You can no longer hide behind circumstances. You must face your habits, your discipline, your decisions, your consistency. But pain is often the doorway to transformation. God does not empower those who avoid responsibility. He strengthens those who accept it. When you steward small tasks well, greater opportunities follow. When you handle today faithfully, tomorrow expands. Ownership aligns you with growth. You begin to audit your time. You begin to manage your money wisely. You begin to guard your thoughts. You begin to choose better associations. You begin to finish what you start. Not because someone forced you, but because you decided. That decision builds self-respect, and self-respect builds confidence. Confidence built on ownership is unshakable, because you know that no matter what happens, you will respond with discipline. You will adjust. You will learn. You will rise. Excuses keep you stagnant. Responsibility moves you forward. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control your preparation, your effort, your attitude, your faith, your persistence. And when you truly embrace responsibility, you realize something powerful. No one is coming to rescue your dream. It is your vision, your calling, your assignment. And the moment you fully own it without blame, without justification, without delay, you step into the authority that has been waiting for you all along. We live in a world obsessed with speed, fast money, fast growth, fast success, fast recognition. Everyone is in a hurry. But very few stop to ask an important question: am I even heading in the right direction? Because moving fast in the wrong direction only takes you further from where you are meant to be. Speed impresses people. Direction transforms lives. You can run hard, work long hours, stay busy all day, and still end up lost. Activity is not progress. Motion is not advancement. Noise is not achievement. There is a difference between acceleration and alignment. A car with a powerful engine but no steering is dangerous. A life with ambition but no clarity is exhausting. Direction requires thought, reflection, prayer, evaluation. It requires you to pause long enough to ask, where is this leading me? It takes humility to slow down and reassess. Sometimes we move quickly because we are afraid of stillness. Stillness forces us to confront truth. It forces us to ask whether our goals are aligned with purpose or just driven by ego. It forces us to examine whether we are chasing calling or simply competing with others. God is not impressed by speed. He is concerned with obedience and alignment. You can rush ahead of divine timing and find yourself in battles you were not prepared for. You can sprint toward opportunities that look attractive but carry consequences you never considered. There is wisdom in waiting for direction. A clear path gives confidence. When you know why you are doing something, endurance becomes easier. Sacrifice becomes meaningful. Discipline becomes sustainable. But when you lack direction, even small obstacles feel overwhelming. Doubt creeps in. Comparison grows. You start chasing every new opportunity because you have not committed to one clear vision. Fast wandering drains energy. You see people constantly switching paths, new business, new strategy, new goal, new identity, not because they lack talent, but because they lack clarity. They are moving quickly, but without foundation. Direction provides stability. It allows you to say no. No to distractions. No to trends that do not align. No to opportunities that look good but are not right. Speed without direction multiplies mistakes. Direction without speed still produces progress. Even faith teaches patience and alignment. Before stepping forward, seek wisdom. Before building, count the cost. Before speaking, measure your words. Before pursuing, examine your heart. When your direction is clear, your steps become intentional. You stop chasing applause. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop competing blindly. Instead, you focus. Focus is powerful. It gathers scattered energy and directs it toward one outcome. A focused life may appear slower at first, but over time it moves farther. Emotionally, direction brings peace. You no longer wake up anxious about what to chase next. You wake up grounded, knowing your assignment. You are not in a race against everyone else. You are walking a path designed specifically for you. Clarity quiets comparison. And when you are clear, you can move with confidence, not because you are the fastest, but because you are aligned. A single step in the right direction is more powerful than 1,000 steps in confusion. You do not need to outrun everyone. You need to outlast distractions. When your direction is right, even slow progress compounds. Even small improvements matter. Even delays feel purposeful. Speed may get attention, but direction determines destination. The world does not pay you for your needs. It pays you for your value. You may need more money. You may want a better lifestyle. You may desire financial freedom. But desire alone does not create income. The marketplace responds to one thing: contribution. Income is a reflection of usefulness. If you solve small problems, you receive small rewards. If you solve big problems, you receive bigger rewards. The size of your compensation often mirrors the size of the problem you are capable of handling. This truth can feel uncomfortable because it shifts the focus from wishing to becoming. The marketplace does not reward effort alone. It rewards results. You may work long hours, but if your work does not create value for others, compensation will be limited. Hard work is honorable, but value is profitable. Skill increases value. When you sharpen your abilities, you become harder to replace. When you study your craft deeply, you move from average to exceptional. When you practice consistently, your output improves. Excellence attracts opportunity. Mediocrity blends in. Mastery stands out. Think about it spiritually. We are called to be good stewards of our gifts. Each person has been given talents, ideas, strengths, and opportunities. Burying those gifts produces nothing. Multiplying them creates impact. There is a principle of sowing and reaping. What you give to the world eventually returns. If you give creativity, service, innovation, integrity, and excellence, the harvest reflects that contribution. Reward follows responsibility. Many people focus on what they want to receive, but few focus on what they are prepared to give. They ask, how can I make more? Instead of asking, how can I become more valuable? That question changes everything. When you develop high-demand skills, you increase your earning power. When you learn to communicate clearly, you expand influence. When you understand how to solve complex problems, you become an asset. When you build trust, you create long-term opportunity. The marketplace is not emotional. It is responsive. It rewards competence. It rewards reliability. It rewards innovation. It rewards solutions. And it quietly ignores excuses. Emotionally, this principle can sting because it removes entitlement. You are not paid based on how long you have existed. You are not rewarded based on intention. You are compensated based on contribution. But this truth is empowering because it means your financial future is not random. It is connected to your growth. If you want greater reward, increase your value. Study when others relax. Practice when others procrastinate. Improve your thinking. Expand your network. Strengthen your discipline. God often multiplies what is already moving. When you are faithful with what you have, increase follows. When you refine your gifts, doors open. When you serve with excellence, influence expands. Value is not just technical skill. It is character. Integrity creates long-term reward. Trustworthiness builds opportunity. A person who consistently delivers solutions becomes indispensable. And indispensable people are rarely ignored. Your income tends to rise to the level of your usefulness. Your opportunities expand with your contribution. So instead of chasing money, chase mastery. Instead of demanding reward, deliver value. Instead of competing loudly, improve quietly. When you consistently solve problems, serve others, and refine your abilities, something powerful happens. The marketplace begins to notice, and reward begins to follow value. Success is not avoiding you. It is waiting for you to rise to its level. The moment you decide to grow, to discipline your days, to take responsibility for your outcomes, everything begins to change. Ask yourself again, is this the reason you're not succeeding? And if the answer is yes, that is good news. Because what is within you, you have the power to transform.